Go.
I now call the special called meeting of the Carroll County Board of Commissioners, February 27th, 4 o'clock meeting to order. This time I'll ask the clerk if she'll do the roll call.
Chairman Morgan.
Here.
Vice Chairman Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner McClendon.
Here.
Commissioner Chance.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Fuller.
Here.
Commissioner Hicks.
Here.
At this time, I'll ask for approval of the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve agenda is presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move into business session. 5.1 is the Hospital Authority Tanner Medical Center bond financing that we had a presentation on a few weeks ago, but I'm going to turn it over to the county attorney at this time.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. A few weeks ago, you all approved a resolution to authorize the intergovernmental agreement for the Carroll City and County Hospital Authority bond financing. And today, we have a proposed resolution to approve the final numbers for the bond financing based on the bond pricing yesterday. And they had a good day in the market, and it came in at $170,535,000. For the total amount, and the all-inclusive true interest cost is 4.21%. And of that project, you may recall, they have some new projects. That amount for the new money is $140 million. They were able to refinance or refund a portion of the 2015 bonds for savings. That ended up being $43 million, and the savings on that was $5.2 million with the net present value benefit of $4 million. So for your consideration is to approve those final numbers based on the bond pricing yesterday and to authorize the execution of all the agreements.
Ms. Blackman, I see that it looks like we cleaned up the verbiage on all the different documents on the not-to-exceed amounts, correct?
Correct.
So they're all corresponding?
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Stacy? Well, seeing and hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Well, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to move into executive session to discuss real estate and litigation, so I'll need a motion and a second to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, so at this time, we will pause the recording since we're going into executive session. I expect us to be back maybe 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, at this time, I'll look for a motion and a second to enter back into the meeting.
Motion to leave executive session and move back into regular session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, great. At this time, I'll look for a motion and a second to adjourn from the special called meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, at this time, we'll move into our work session. And let me get to that agenda. Go back to- At this time, we have a special presentation by former Commissioner Randy Simpkins about National Kidney Month. So this time, Randy, I will call you forward to present to us your thoughts that we've been talking about.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you, and I know y'all just had a long executive session, so I hope that what I share with you will keep your interest for a little while. I've sat in your chair before, and I would hear a presentation about things like National Kidney Month, and it may or may not have gotten my attention depending on whether or not I had a personal tie to that in some way. Some of you know me from different walks of life, and one of you went to school with my boys, and so I know you from a variety of different things. And I'm probably not the person you would have expected to stand up here and talk to you about this, but it's very important. About 5 hours ago, I officiated a funeral of a 53-year-old lady in Bowden that died in part due to kidney failure. There's 38 million people in this country that have chronic kidney disease. That's 1 out of 7. And say that again, 1 out of 7 have chronic kidney disease. 9 out of 10 do not know that they have it. To put that in a more local context, Carroll County, assuming we have around 120,000 people, that's 18,000 Carroll Countians that have chronic kidney disease. 9 out of 10 don't know it. 1 out of 7. There's 7 of you up there. Statistically speaking, one of you very well could have chronic kidney disease and not know it. I wouldn't have cared personally. I won't say I wouldn't care, but it wouldn't have been on my radar personally until a couple of years ago. March is National Kidney Month, and there's a movement that's going on that started here that I've been very blessed to be a part of, and I asked for the opportunity to share this with you because you need to know, even though this is a local movement, it is no longer local, and the impact is going to be worldwide, and I felt it was important for you to know what's going on. About 2 years ago, I was assigned as the Appalachian Trail chaplain, and so I was hiking the Appalachian Trail. It was a 6-month sabbatical. I was pastor at Bowden First Methodist at the time. The church was very supportive. And as a result of a blizzard followed by jury duty, thank you very much, and a series of events and going on at church and work, I had to come off of that trail about 100 miles in, and I wasn't able to continue. While I was home, I was asked to serve as the head clergy on a women's retreat and up in Dallas, Georgia, and I agreed to do it. It was in March. I wasn't going to be able to do it, but then when I came back home, I was able to. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the first morning of the retreat, I was in the kitchen getting a cup of coffee, and I didn't know anybody else was in the room. And so there's sort of a U-shaped kitchen, and I heard voices on the other side, and there were 3 ladies over there. It was a 60-year-old lady, and she was talking to her mother and her daughter. Once I heard voices, I tried to quietly sort of walk out. I didn't want to interrupt them. It was 5 o'clock in the morning after all. Then I heard her say, "We've got to pray we can find somebody that's O positive, that's willing to give up a body part. But how do you ask somebody for a body part?" And I froze. At that moment, I knew this is why God brought me off trail. I found out that her husband had just been put on the kidney transplant wait list. The average wait is 8 years. Let me say that again. The average wait is 8 years. And there's 100,000 people in this country that are on the kidney transplant wait list, and millions, well, actually that's an exaggeration, around 600,000 that are on dialysis, and millions that are dealing with that issue. And so he and I both had had blood transfusions, so the hospital had told us, Piedmont said, there's no way that you'll match, but you can do this thing called a paired exchange, where you can put him down as the potential recipient. If you're healthy enough to donate a kidney, you can give a kidney to whoever you match with, and then he'll go to the top of the list. Well, I agreed to do that. Throughout the process of us being tested over the next few months, Piedmont called me up, and they said, we have never seen this before. It's like two lottery winners winning with the same numbers because you both had blood transfusions, but every marker matches up. It's like you've had his kidney in your body the last 54 years. I met him a week before the surgery. The surgery went fantastic. He's doing fabulous. He goes to the gym every day. But here's the interesting part. They literally took it out through my belly button. I don't even have a scar. Not one that you can see anyway. I was back at the gym in 7 days. Now, I got lightheaded doing calf raises, but I was back at the gym, and I felt great. And after 6 weeks, I couldn't have told you that anything had ever happened to me. A pastor here in Carrollton asked me if I would come share with his men's group. They said, number one, you weren't supposed to even be at this retreat, and number two, it was a miracle that y'all matched. They said it was, 1 chance in 10,000. And he said, would you come and share with our men's group at church? And I said, yeah, I'd be glad to. So I went and shared with them. There was about 30 men in there. And towards the end, and I'm trying to give you a very abbreviated version here, but towards the end, one of the gentlemen, we had a Q&A, and he said, you seem completely fine. And I told him, I could not told you that anything had ever happened to me. He said, would you do it again? And I don't know why I answered it this way, but I said, if I had 200 kidneys in my body, I'd do it 199 more times starting tomorrow, because it changes you when you're a vessel through which someone receives life. So I didn't think a whole lot more about it. A couple of weeks later, I was invited by Terry and some others in Bowden to speak to Bowden Kiwanis about it. And this is like maybe 8 weeks after the surgery. I shared my testimony again, and a lady came up to me and she said, is there an age limit? I'd be interested in donating a kidney. I skipped one step. At the men's retreat, after that question, at the men's breakfast, 2 gentlemen came up and asked me, how would I go about donating a kidney? So just sharing with that small group, people were already responding. And I got to thinking, I know there's 100,000 people in this country that would do what I did if they knew how great the need was, and they knew how relatively easy the process is to donate a kidney. And you don't even have to match. But how do you get word out to everybody in a way that's inspirational? That it's the story. It was me sharing it was personalizing it. But how do you get the word out to everybody? And then it hit me. Some of you know this, but 25 years ago, my youngest son was 2 years old and he disappeared. This community, matter of fact, that's why I became a commissioner. I wanted to give back to this community. This community poured by the hundreds into our farm to help look for my son. We found him 1.5 miles away in the swamp, and I would have given everything that I ever made for the people that came out, first responders, law enforcement, everybody that came out and helped look and find our son. And he was okay, but that day changed my life. 8 years later, some filmmakers came to Carrollton. They wanted to do a little ghost story down in Whitesburg. And I got to spend time with them, help them find some different locations because they called the county office, and it was in my area down in Whitesburg. And so I got to go spend the day with them, and they said, they told me, you don't seem like a politician. I said, thank you. And they said, how'd you get involved in politics? And I told them about my son disappearing and the impact that had on me as a father and with the community and everything. Well, about a year later, they reached out to me, and they asked, they said, that story is really powerful, and we'd like to share that. It's a real message about priorities and what's important. So after being reluctant at first, my wife and I decided this is something that we need to do. Other people can learn from our mistakes, my mistakes. And so we agreed to do it. And the movie is called The Way Home. Dean Cain played me in that movie. It was released by Lionsgate in 2010. It's still on Amazon Prime today, 15 years later, on a whole lot of other networks. We still, almost on a weekly basis, have people to reach out. Even Popcorn Flicks, which I'd never even heard of, it's had over 10 million views. So we still have people to reach out and say, thank you for sharing your story. That's been really powerful for me. And I got to thinking, what if we opened up a nonprofit organization? And we did another movie, shared this story about the kidney transplant, and educated everybody on the great need and the relative ease, and took the proceeds from the movie, put it back in to the nonprofit, and boots on the ground, got out there and shared it with as many people as possible. Well, I thought that was a crazy idea, so I sort of put it in my back pocket, And then a few months later, somebody reached out to me that I had mentioned that to, and they shared with me a producer's name that had done a lot of movies with Dean Cain. I hadn't talked to him in 12 years or so. I reached out to him and told him my idea, and he loved the idea. This was a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago. I spent a few days with Dean telling him everything. He said, no one's ever done anything like this. This is an incredible idea. You literally want to make a movie whose sole purpose is to save 100,000 lives. I'm all in, but I want to be on the board of directors. And Lori Beth, that played my wife, same thing. She's on the board of directors. We set up the nonprofit, and within a month, and I barely knew how to spell nonprofit. I was trying to figure all this stuff out. A lady from Villa Rica called me, Anita Nix. Y'all may know Kelly and Anita Nix. She called me and she said, somebody has told me that you're doing something with kidneys. We just found out that our 27-year-old son only has a couple of years to live, and we got to find a kidney donor, and they're telling us it's going to be 8 years. Can you help? I said, ma'am, I don't have any spares. You know, I've only got one left, but I will tell other people as I have a chance to. That November, we had a small fundraiser in Kennesaw that someone hosted for us. And the Nix family came, and out of the 65 or 70 people that were there, when I asked him to stand and introduce himself, the people eating with him had no idea that he was in the situation that he was. 5 people out of 65 stepped forward to donate a kidney. March 27th, he got his kidney. To date, we've helped 4 people find kidneys already, and we've had hundreds that have started the process. And all we've done is write the script. Dean's on board. Other people have gotten on board. Dean said, let's raise $5 million. I thought, I can't raise $5 million. He said, well, I'll help you. Let's raise $5 million and let's put it in theaters across the country. If we can put it in theaters across the country, 100 million people will see it, especially with streaming. And if 100 million people see this story and are educated about this, all we need is 1 out of every 1,000 to say, I can do what that guy did. And we will effectively eliminate the kidney transplant wait list. Let that sink in. Now, I thought that's sort of a big, grandiose kind of plan, but that's sort of what God does. And to date, like I said, 4 people. While you were in executive session, I got a message on my phone from a guy that I prayed with at another fundraiser. I have not talked to him since. And he had been waiting 6 years for a kidney. And he came to our event. The next day he got a call and he got a kidney. He said, I just want to let you know, I want to come to your church and hear you preach, but I'm doing wonderful and I'm fully recovered now, and it's been a year. So there's a big movement that's going on with this. Day before yesterday, we were contacted by a U.S. congressman that wants to screen I haven't told anybody this, wants to screen our movie once we make it, which we're doing this year for Congress. We have, Dean has contacts that are tremendous. I can't tell you the actors right now because we're in negotiation with them, but the people that are coming on board as producers, cast directors, director, and have invested in this, it's phenomenal. We have really outpunted our coverage. There are people at county government, I know, I've talked with one that needs a kidney. That needs a kidney transplant. I'm trying to make you aware of this because this is taking off at an exponential rate at this point, and I uncover every rock that I can. That's probably not a good analogy, but I tell as many people as I can because you never know who knows somebody else that has a need that we could help or is interested in helping themselves. I can tell you, and I've said this a while ago, it really does change you when you allow the Lord to work through you and give somebody life. And I'm so passionate about it because every time you see the response to it, it's just an amazing thing. So I'm sharing that with y'all I hope that you have another viewpoint when you realize that it's National Kidney Month. March is coming up. We would love to partner with the county in any way that would make sense to help us create an awareness and get the word out there. Our website is endthewait, endthewait.net. You can get any information off of that you want, but I yield my time, Chairman. So thank you for allowing me to share with you today.
So Commissioners, we will be through the wellness program providing T-shirts to all our employees. We actually have 3 employees who are willing to tell their personal stories, and we'll be putting that literature in with information on donating, as well as what you need to do to make sure you keep your own health. So that package will be coming out in the next 2 weeks for all our employees. So thank you, Randy, for bringing that to my attention so we can.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, if we have 600 employees,
Mhm.
you know, you say one out of
1 out of 7, yeah.
7, you calculate that number out with the 600. So thank you for bringing this to me, and we will be getting that out to our employees.
And if any of you are getting a little nudge of conviction that you want a little more information, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll always be available. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. We're going to move into our financial recap for January 2025. I'm going to call Alicia Searcy, the Finance Director, forward to present.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We have before us today the January 31, 2025 financials. The general fund revenue ended up at $60,568,694. We are seeing a good, steady collection of revenue. Our sales tax had been running a little behind last year, and this month it actually caught up, and so we're toward the end of the year hoping that we were going to see a little growth there as far as our sales tax is concerned. Everything else is pretty much trending the same way last year did. Our rec fees are up pretty significantly. Our programs out there are full, and we're doing real well. Parks is down a little bit, but I think that's probably contributed to the extreme cold weather that we saw through the winter months. So we hope that that's going to pick up a little bit moving forward. And then our interest income is running behind last year. 2 reasons: the interest rates are down a little bit, and we've got a little less money that's invested, just due to a reduction in cash flow. Our expenses, we ended at $47,177,029. That puts us at about 59% of budget, compared to 55% last year. And our cash, our general fund cash is down about $7 million compared to last year at this time, but it's slightly higher than where we were in 2023. So we're maintaining a good steady cash balance as far as that's concerned. On our SPLOST, our 2021 SPLOST, we've had a total of $11,233,000 in expenditures for fiscal year 2025. A large majority of that, we've got the 3 big projects. The fire station is starting to wrap up. This past January, we paid out a total of $416,612 on it. The admin building is starting to move along pretty good. We've paid out in January $485,722. And then the 5th floor of the Judicial Center out of SPLOST, we've paid $518,549. We also paid for 2 fire trucks for a total of $1,149,000. And everything else is pretty common things, some road supplies and some things like that.
I think those sales tax numbers are indicative of a federal election year. We've had unprecedented inflation and different things as well, but I think everybody seizes up in those end of those years. And now it's good to see that those numbers have bounced back a little bit now that we're a couple of months into the new year.
Yeah, I was encouraged by that.
Okay, no further questions or discussion. We're going to move into the actual business session of the Tuesday night meeting. So the first thing we have on that is 10.1, the Sheriff Office Design Services, and we have Sheriff Terry Langley here to discuss a consideration for approval of the Sheriff's Office Design Services to be funded from the 21 SPOST and authorize the chairman to sign the agreement and take all necessary actions in the common connection therewithin. So, Sheriff?
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I know y'all used to seeing Brad, and he's a lot more polished than I am, but he had something to do tonight, and I think it's really something that I needed to speak on. The need for the sheriff's office, I've talked with several of you about it. The building has run down, and for several decades, we've been making closets into offices and those kind of things. The plumbing, the wiring, when it was built, it was not conducive to have any IT or electrical stuff in it, and we just have a need to do that. So we wanted to start the process of hopefully making the sheriff's office and jail annex, and when I say jail annex, a SPLOST project, is because right behind us is the old jail, and we have about 90 women in that jail now, so that would need to be replaced as well. So we have a need, and I just think we have a need to have proper training rooms. We need our evidence room is not outdated, but is perhaps at capacity, and we need good offices for the men and women that do such a great job at the sheriff's office that has very capable technology to do their jobs. And I think it's time to do that. So to start that project, possibly as a SPLOST project, I have a company, CPS, Comprehensive Program Services. Eric Johnson's the owner of it. I've known him for almost 30 years. Eric had a part in building, he was involved in the building of what they call the new jail, that big, beautiful octagon building that everybody likes to ride by and look at, almost 25 years ago. He had a part in that as well, so he's done work here. His company was involved in doing the sheriff's office at Paulding County and Douglas County, and I've known him for 25 years, and he's the one we wanted to do a study and just see what exactly is a SPLOST project, how much money, what we need, what kind of facility we need for future expansion, hopefully to have where we can, it would be 20 years before we had to worry about needing more space for mentally ill or females as well. You know, we will have on this new annex, as I call it, more medical beds. Unfortunately, we're in a time where mental health illness, drug abuse, and those kind of things are being more apparent at the sheriff's office, so we'll probably have several more beds for just those for the mentally ill as well. But the priority for me was to make sure that we had a good place for the men and women of the sheriff's office to work, to train, to come to every day, and a nice place for the citizens to come when they interact with those deputies and those people at the sheriff's office. I have chosen them, and I've come tonight to ask you to approve a contract, and I assume y'all have all of this in front of you, but they would do an actual study between now and May to have it completed and do all the things that they think we need for the future and all the things that goes into having a new sheriff's office. And there, as you see, the total is $146,745. And they're ready to go and ready to start today. And you see all the things that they will do and come back with a report for you all to review in the future. Now, I made that pretty quick, so is there any questions?
And Sheriff, you personally picked this group to do this because you know them and that's what they specialize in versus us trying to do a RFQ or something and have different
Right.
people. You feel confident with
Yes.
the specific company you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'll look for a motion in a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. We just came out of that other meeting, so I'm still on that note. Are you, okay, thank you. Are you good with putting this on a consent agenda for Tuesday night? Okay, great. Thank you, Sheriff. All right, 10.2, the GDOT bridge replacement. I'm going to call Danny Yates from Public Works to tell us a little bit of this project for Lovern Mill Road. That will be a question for the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairman, Board of Commissioners. Coming for you tonight, the DOT is looking at replacing bridge on Lovern Mill Road. This is in Commissioner Bailey's district down there. And they're asking if the county will donate $75,000 for right-of-way acquisition and possible utility relocation if needed. And we done this last year in Commissioner Lee's district for the two bridges up there, and I think it's a good investment, you know, $75,000 on this bridge for a possible $2.5–3 million bridge.
Any questions? Okay, are y'all good putting this on the consent agenda? Yeah. Oh, Tommy, you had a question?
No.
Oh, good for consent agenda. Okay, great. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, 10.3 is the Recreation RFQ Lighting Design Professional. I've got Thad Ferguson, our Recreation Director.
Good evening. Hope you all are doing good. So before you, as you know, we have currently working on electrical and light upgrades at the rec department and put out an RFQ for a project manager consultant to come in and assess the situation and help create RFPs for those two projects. So our group met. We had 4 companies that attended the pre-bid, 2 companies that actually put in a bid for this project, and the committee's recommendation excuse me, is to go with Southern A&E, and a couple reasons were their response time based on location, and then just their experience in the West Georgia area were the two really main things that stood out to us as a committee. Both companies, we believe, could do the job, but these were just two big points that were the 2 reasons that we chose Southern A&E for our recommendation.
Mr. Ferguson, in the process, you had a mandatory on-site meeting that they were required, if they wanted to put in a bid, that they had to come out and see the fields and exactly what was going on in GIS with the electrical and then the needs for the lighting, correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
I reviewed everything, and I do think that is a quality company that would do us a good job. The only thing that I would ask, Madam Chairman, if you put this in the consent agenda, is that basically we are understanding that we're approving this as the final selection, but either yourself or your appointees would be negotiating with them on the monetary portion. So what we did with the process was, as long as the company put in a monetary portion, they got all 10 points. I think what they submitted was around 6% or so, if I'm not mistaken, of the total project cost that they would charge, and that's not out of line. But in the same note, when we had $400,000 gaps in the original RFPs, I want there to be some kind of incentive that we don't want them just trying to roll the motions of having the highest dollar, because that's where they're going to make the most money. So I think that the monetary portion definitely needs to be negotiated, and that they need to understand we're not just approving in general what they submitted in their packet on the monetary portion. That would be up for negotiation. That's just my view. If the chairman or the rest of the board sees it that way as well.
So let me clarify, when we do the negotiation, do you want me to bring back to you the next month a negotiated price, or just?
No, I just want it understood that you and your staff, if you negotiate it, that they're understanding tonight that what they submitted in their packet is not necessarily what we are approving.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Thad? Seeing and hearing none, are y'all good with putting this on a consent agenda?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thad. All right, 10.4 is recycling waste reduction and diversion grant that we've received, and I have Jacqueline Doss, Director of Solid Waste, with us.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Commissioners, good evening. I'm here today to ask for your acceptance of a Georgia DNR grant, RWD, which is one that we've already had before. You'll be very familiar with the initials. This is for a compactor at Noonan Road Convenience Center to compact cardboard. I just have a few slides I'm going to go through really quickly. This shows you an example of what an open-top container looks like. Residents typically fill at least 2 of these a day and at least 3 a day on the weekend. Our average amount of recycling that we take in cardboard at this particular site is about 67,000 pounds or 35 tons, and that also brings the county a revenue stream as well of about $525 a month. The next picture is a proposed location. I've gone over this with Danny Yates, Public Works Director, who will be obviously doing the work to help us with the installation. As you can see, there's lots of room for this. What we would expect is that we're going to take that wall and raise it up and put the compactor behind it. This shows you what a chute looks like now on a regular trash compactor at Noonan Road. And then the next slide, you can see the side and how it is affixed to the actual compactor box. That chute and that box that you see is what Public Works fabricates for us on every compactor. So they would be helping us with this project, and that would be included in part of our match that the state requires. As you can see, this is the rear of it, and you'll see the slabs where the existing compactors sit. Our proposal is just to add to the slab beside it. It needs to sit on concrete just because of the nature of what it is. And this is from the back that you can see that there's lots of room where we can extend that slab. This picture shows you the opening size of an existing compactor in Carroll County that does not belong to Carroll County government. It's actually at a private company that does a lot of recycling, and unfortunately we caught it on a day with trash in it, but they typically use that for cardboard. You can see how much wider that chute is, and that's what we're asking for because this will allow for larger boxes. Think of a TV box that's 65 or 84 inches wide. This is what that compactor looks like at the back. And that is pretty much all that I have, and I would hope that you would consider the approval of this grant and allow us to move forward.
Ms. Doss, is there anything with this that would require any additional employees or anything? I mean, it's supposed to streamline it, I would assume, so
No,
it would be the opposite.
it's just all that it will do is actually save the county money because we'll have less roll-off trucks to have to move. Typically, one of those compactors is the equivalent of about 3 of those roll-off containers. So as you see on a Sunday when we have 3 boxes full, it would just be one compactor that would have to be moved.
And are you wanting to transport stuff outside of just that one location to utilize the compactor at another time, or the other operations would continue as is? In other words, you're only going to have a compactor at the one location, but you're taking...
So far, this is
Right.
what we applied for the grant for, and there is always an opportunity to apply for more compactors at other locations over the years. We want to see how this one goes, and as I said, this is a grant that we've applied for in the past in partnership with Keep Carroll Beautiful, and we were successful in getting it. We're very excited that we've been accepted for this particular grant, but this will only cover the one compactor at Noonan Road.
Right, but I guess my question is that we're taking in cardboard at other locations. There's no feasibility of taking that cardboard and then taking it to that site, maybe on a weekend or something, and letting it compacted. I'm just trying to figure out the process.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah, that's not a real practical consideration. It goes directly now from Dyer Road, Noonan Road, and Temple directly to our recycler, so.
Thank you.
roughly the county's portion would be about a little over 11,000 for the labor and
Yes,
materials.
and Danny and I have already worked out the cost of the concrete and the rebar. Obviously, for that wall that you're going to see that has to go up top, it's going to have to be extra reinforced. We're going to use 1-inch steel dowels in that, and I'm working on getting the prices for that. This project will not begin until FY26 for the county, so it will be included in the FY26 budget. It's a wonderful problem to have, but Public Works is so busy with some other projects. I'm in the queue for this one now, but we will not have the ability to begin it until FY26. We will probably go ahead and look at ordering the compactor. The last set that we ordered for Temple took almost 6 months to get in, but that was pretty much post-COVID. So I think now they're at about 3 months. So we'll start the process to look at ordering it, so to time it so that it will hopefully arrive the beginning of July, and then we'll move forward with the work then. This is a reimbursement grant, so we expend the funds, submit our receipts, and then the state is very quick to give us our money back.
Okay, thank you.
Are y'all good with putting this on a consent agenda?
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Okay, 10.5, the purchase of livestock pens for the Ag Center. I'm going to turn this over to Commissioner Hicks.
So the purchase of the livestock pens for the Ag Center kind of stemmed from our local cattlemen's association. It was put in the proposal with the Ag Center upgrades that y'all approved about a year or so ago. But anyways, we've actually just structured it out, and we're just going to ask for it directly. What it's going to entail is an aero-equipped squeeze chute, an aero-equipped alleyway, and a Priefert 180-degree sweep. And there will also be a purchase of 12 heavy-duty Priefert panels and 4 heavy-duty Priefert bow gates. There will be a concrete pad poured in the back corner of the Ag Center where the chute, the alley, and the sweep tub will be secured down. The panels will be collapsible to maintain the usability for other events, festivals, all the different things. We got 2 different quotes on the aero equipment, one from our local dealer, Agri-America here in town, another from All American Panel down in South Georgia. And then on the panels and the sweep, we got a quote from Daniel Jackson Feed Mill, and then the Priefert equipment is actually coming out of the Bremen Tractor Supply. So both equipment purchases will be kept in county, whatnot. We have some of our cattlemen here with us today. The main reason for the pens itself is going to be, for one, coming up at the end of March, and then April we have a top pen competition that actually our Carroll County Cattlemen's Association started and has actually been hosted at one of my facilities for the past 2 years, and they're wanting to move it to a more centralized location. Other than that, they're going to be able to use Young Farmers Cattlemen's Extension Service. They'll all be able to use it for live cattle demonstrations, for different classes, schools, because a lot of times you can teach it in a classroom and people have it hands-on, they don't really understand it. So other than that, that's all I have.
Commissioner Hicks, in the price that you've got not to exceed, is that inclusive of everything like the concrete and stuff plus the panels from the quotes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioners, the reason we're asking for this money separately from the money we approved back in the last year's budget is that we're running a little behind on the demonstration kitchen. I truly believe there'll be some funds left over from that project that we voted on that we can then put back into the general fund. But this is we're on a time frame now because the cattlemen would like to have an event in March, and so we're just running a little bit behind with the demo kitchen. Like Jacqueline has said, Public Works has been extremely busy. So I don't see this as being extra money. It's just the timing of it. So are y'all good putting this on the consent agenda? Okay, great. Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to move into 10.6 and 10.7. 10.6 is two summer interns. It is with ACCG Civic Affairs. Last year we had an intern with the solid waste research intern, and so we applied for 4 with ACCG, and we received 2 of them. So we've gotten 1 position again, which would be with solid waste research, to continue the work that we were doing last year with that, and then to have a research historian and bicentennial event planner, because next year is our 200th anniversary. So we need a little help with someone organizing us. So it would be just basically a 2-month internship. So the total cost of those is $6,519. And we're accepting that money. It will not be any extra money that we pay out. Are you good with putting this on the consent agenda? Great, thank you. 10.7 is appointment to WARS, WARRS, which is the, to fill a vacancy. It's been recommended that Major Craig Dodson fill that position till January 31st, 2026. Are y'all good with putting that on a consent agenda? Okay, and the last item is 10.8, appointments to the Region 4 EMS Council, position 1, again, to fill a vacant position. So they are asking for Amy Jerome. She is with West Georgia Ambulance, and she would be our designated person. So that would go through June 30th of 2026. Are y'all good with putting that on a consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, great. We do not have to go into executive session again next Tuesday night. So what I look forward to is we will have our opening meeting, we'll have zoning, and then we'll have our consent agenda.